Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Hockey Talk with TG Podcast. I'm Ty Glenn. Hope you guys are having a great Tuesday and happy St. Patrick's Day, everybody. That's right. Today is St. Patrick's Day, and me being a Chicagoan, what we do in Chicago, as you guys may know, is that we dye the Chicago River green every St. Patrick's Day, and that's kind of like a tradition that we've been doing. Not gonna lie, I haven't been paying attention to most of it, or haven't even saw it, or kind of looked at it most of the time. But now, recently, I've been kind of picking up, like, oh, this is what we do every year for St. Patrick's Day. And I know sometimes when the Blackhawks be playing in their games, like they played today against Nick Foligno, the Minnesota Wild, they sometimes have on green uniforms during warm-ups for St. Patrick's Day. There was a picture with Jonathan Tage in a green St. Patrick's Day Chicago Blackhawks jersey. So that's what we do at the United Center. Kind of like tradition that we do in Chicago. But anyways, happy St. Patrick's Day to everybody listening out there. And if you have a tradition that you do for St. Patrick's Day, we'd love to hear on the Hockey Talk TG Podcast. Or if you're from somewhere and this is what your city does every year for St. Patrick's Day, we'd love to hear it on the Hockey Talk with TG Podcast. But yeah, we're going to go ahead and get started to the NHL news for today. So first things first, we got the LA Kings and New York Rangers. LA Kings, they hold off the New York Rangers with a 4-1 win at Madison Square Garden on Monday. They improved to 28, 24, and 15 of the season, and they sweep their season series meetings against the New York Rangers. They won 4-3 against them back in LA on January the 20th, and they end their 5-game road trip with a 3-1-1 record. They're tied with the Seattle Kraken with 71 points for the second wildcard spot in the Western Conference. Alex Lafreniere, he had a goal and 2 assists for 3.9 in this one. And then Mikey Anderson had a goal and assist with 2.9. And then Trevor Moore and Drew Doughty also scored for the Rangers. Drew Doughty scored his first regular season goal against the Rangers in 27 games. And this is actually a fun stat to point out. The Seattle Kraken are the only team that he has yet to score against in his NHL career. So when I first saw that stat on NHL.com, I actually kind of found that interesting and intriguing for me to talk about on the Hockey Talk with TG Podcast. But yet again, the Seattle Kraken are kind of technically still a new team. They came into the NHL around 2021, I believe, 2021. I'm trying to think because I was in high school. I was in high school when they came into the NHL, so I'm trying to think around that time when I was in high school and what year did they come into the league. But I believe it was in 2021. Correct me if I'm wrong. No, but yeah. Anyways, Artemi Panarin, first game back at Madison Square Garden as an opponent with the LA Kings. He notched an assist in the game. He also had 2 shots on goal in 15 minutes and 42 seconds of ice time. He has 19 career points in 13 games played against the Rangers. 12 goals, 7 assists for 19 points in 13 games played against the Rangers in his career. And for the most part of that was when he was on the Chicago Blackhawks and the Columbus Blue Jackets. And he got his first point against them on the LA Kings. And for those who may know, he was traded to the Kings for prospect Liam Greentree and a conditional 3rd-round pick in the 2026 NHL Draft. He played 7 seasons with the Rangers. From 2019 to 2026, he signed with the Rangers through free agency in 2019. I remember that deal very well. I was a freshman in high school when Panarin signed with the Rangers. So I was just starting high school when I saw that signing. It was a 7-year, $81.5 million contract deal he signed with the Rangers after leaving the Columbus Blue Jackets during that time. And in his 7 seasons with the Rangers, he has 607 points in 482 games played, 205 goals, 402 assists, for 607 points in 482 games played, and he received a standing ovation and tribute in his game back to Madison Square Garden, what he did for the New York Rangers. I will say the Kings did win this trade. The Rangers just got back a prospect and a draft pick, and that's not really going to do them quite well. But yeah, Rangers fans surely do miss him. They wish he was still on the team, didn't get traded, but I think that general manager Chris Drury said that they might go into a rebuild at one point. Or I don't know what's going to happen at the Rangers, but at some point of the season, the general manager Chris Drury sent out a letter apologizing to the fans and the team for the failures that they have had this season. And I thought I saw in that letter something about a rebuild happening. So, yeah, but if you're a Rangers fan, feel free to comment. You guys know this team more than I do. I'm a Blackhawks fan, but I do a hockey podcast, and I'm a passionate hockey fan, as you guys all know. So I try to keep track with all 32 NHL teams. But yet again, I am a Blackhawks fan, so I can tell you more Blackhawks stuff than I can with other team stuff. But I believe in that letter, there was something about a rebuild happening that Chris Drury has sent out. But like I said, if you're a Rangers fan, you watch this team more than I do, you know this team more than I do, feel free to comment if I'm making any wrong assumptions for that. Anything I didn't get correct about that statement. But anyway, Darcy Kemper, he made 21 saves on 22 shots faced the net for the LA Kings, and for the New York Rangers, Vincent Trocheck scored the lone goal for the Rangers, while Igor Shesterkin made 22 saves on 25 shots faced the net, and the Rangers, season high, believe it or not, 4-game win streak comes to an end. They won 6 of their last 10 games heading into this one. That's a surprise. And they dropped to 28-31-8 of the season. They're 9-16-6 at home this season, and they're 19-15-2 on the road. So different team at home, better team on the road. Rangers play the Devils at home on Wednesday at 6 o'clock p.m. Central Time. That should be a good matchup. Rangers, Devils, Hudson River rivalry. Always look forward to that. The Kings return home to play the Philadelphia Flyers on Thursday at 9:30 p.m. Central Time. We're moving on to a Central Division showdown matchup between the Utah Mammoth and the Dallas Stars. It will be the Utah Mammoth coming out with the 6-3 win over the Dallas Stars in Big D, Dallas, Texas on Tuesday, and they improved to 35-27-6 of the season. They end their 4-game losing skid in which they were 0-2-2 during that span. By the way, both those overtime losses coming to my Chicago Blackhawks. But the Mammoth get a huge 2 points in this one, as they are still holding that first wild card playoff spot in the Western Conference. And they scored 4 unanswered goals in the third period to power them to this 6-3 win 4 different ways as well. They got a shorthanded goal from Jack McBain, an even strength goal from Kayla Yamamoto, a power play goal from Michael Carcoli, and an empty net goal from Lawson Krause. And then Clay Keller and Nate Schmidt had the other goals for the Mammoth, while Vika Vanacek made 27 saves on 30 shots faced the net. Kevin Stenlund was a late scratch for the Mammoth entering this game. He was out with a lower body injury and is listed as day-to-day. And for the Dallas Stars, Sam Steele, Wyatt Johnson, and Adam Ernie scored for the Stars, while Casey Smith made 16 saves on 21 shots faced the net. And the Stars' 15-game point streak comes to an end. They're 14-0-1 during the span. And they tied the franchise record set in the 1998-99 season. That was the year that they won the Stanley Cup against the Buffalo Sabres. Brett Hull, overtime game-winning goal in that one. They're 12-0 with 3 ties. They end this 6-game homestand with a 4-1-1 record, and they're 42-15-10 of the season. But the Stars will be in the Mile High City, Denver, Colorado, to take on the Avalanche on Wednesday at 8:30 p.m. Central Time. This will air on TNT and HBO Max for you guys to watch. The Mammoth head to the Sin City, Las Vegas, Nevada, to take on the VGK, Vegas Golden Knights, on Thursday at 9 o'clock p.m. Central Time. And that game will air on Hulu and ESPN Plus for you guys to watch. But now to the bigger news of the day on the Hockey Talk with TG podcast. The NHL and NHLPA announces Calgary, Edmonton, and Prague to host the 2028 World Cup of Hockey event. So Calgary and Edmonton will serve as the North American hosts, while Prague will host the European portion of the tournament. The event will be played across 3 arenas. Scotia Place, which is the new arena for the Calgary Flames, which will open up in fall 2027. To be honest, I did look this up because I didn't even know about it because they always played at the Scotiabank Saddledome. But if you were a Calgary Flames fan, or if you're living in the Alberta area near Calgary or so, you probably knew something about this. I didn't know anything about them making a new arena, so I kind of did look it up to be sure. And they are building a new arena starting in fall of 2027. But they always played at Scotiabank Saddledome. They always were at the Saddledome. But they're going to be tearing that arena down, unfortunately. We'll miss that arena. Well, actually, I've never been there, so I can't really say that. But I always remember them playing at the Saddledome. And now they're building a new NHL arena. But anyways, it'll be played there. It'll be played at Rogers Place, which is where the Edmonton Oilers play at. And it will be at O2 Arena, which is in Prague. And the 2028 World Cup of Hockey tournament marks the first World Cup of Hockey tournament since 2016. This will be the 4th edition of the event following the tournaments in 1996, where we saw USA win against Canada, and they actually had a drought for that. So the USA finally won against Canada in that one, which I don't think Brett Hull was on the team then. Chris Chelios was on the team then, and then Mike Richter was on the team then, and many other players after that. And then they had one in 2004 where Canada defeated Finland in the World Cup of Hockey event. And then they had one in 2016. I think the one in 2016 was at Air Canada Center before the Maple Leafs changed their name to Scotiabank Arena. It was called Air Canada Center at the time. And it was Canada winning again, this time against Europe. So they're now going to be bringing this back in 2028. And like I said, Canada, last one to win the World Cup of Hockey tournament. And the NHL is positioning it as part of a long-term rotation with Olympic participation to ensure regular international competition. The tournament will feature 8 national teams in a best-on-best format. This ensures that NHL players will represent their countries rather than hybrid teams like Team Europe in 2016. And the format is designed to showcase the highest level of international hockey talent. The event will be split across continents before coming to Edmonton, before having like semifinals or finals in Edmonton. The round robin games will take place in Calgary and Prague, with each city hosting a group. And then the semifinals and the championship game will be held in Edmonton at Rogers Place. The tournament is expected to include about 17 games total over roughly a 12-day span. And Calgary and Edmonton were chosen due to this deep hockey culture and infrastructure. Of course, Canada's very well known for hockey. Calgary and Edmonton, probably big parts of Canada that's known for hockey. And I'd probably say Toronto next, then Vancouver. So Canada overall is just known for hockey. A lot of hockey up in Canada. But Calgary and Edmonton, I guess in particular, have deep hockey culture. And that's why they were chosen. But yeah, Prague will host the World Cup of Hockey games for the first time. Of course, the NHL is trying to grow across overseas from the U.S., trying to put it in more countries, like more European countries and other countries like that you normally don't see hockey, trying to grow the game of hockey, spread it to everywhere across the world, make it more diverse. Love to see that. And speaking of which, they talked about the man, I can't think of it. But they did host at the block. They did talk about the Blackhawks and Ottawa Senators play in a game in Germany in December of 2026. It's the Global Series. I just looked it up because I was trying to think of the event. But I know the Blackhawks and Senators were in the event, but I just couldn't think of the name for the event. But the NHL did announce that the Blackhawks and Senators will be playing the Global Series in December in Germany. Too bad the Blackhawks don't have Lucas Reichel on the team because he is German. He was on the Blackhawks before, and now he's on the Vancouver Canucks. So, unfortunately, we don't have Lucas Reichel on the team. We don't have any German players on the team. Hopefully, the Senators don't be the favorites because they do have Tim Stützle on the team, who is German, and they might be the favorites coming into that matchup in Germany since the Senators have Tim Stützle on the team, whereas the Blackhawks have no German players. We did have Lucas Reichel, but we traded him to the Vancouver Canucks. And speaking of this tournament and trying to grow hockey overseas and have more countries and other people being involved in it, I'm hoping to see Russia back in the 2028 World Cup of Hockey event. No final decision has been made. Russia remains suspended from international competition through at least the 2025-26 season, but I don't know. Hopefully in the World Cup Hockey event, we'll see Russia in there because that team will be so stacked. It will have Alex Ovechkin, who may or may not continue playing in the NHL after this season. Who knows? But he could possibly be on there if he continues to play. We'll see Kirill Kaprizov there, Nikita Kucherov, Andrei Vasilevsky, Sergei Bobrovsky, and Matvei Michkov. That Russia team will be so stacked with a lot of talent on that team. So hopefully in the 2028 World Cup of Hockey event, we'll see Russia as part of it. Overall thoughts on this, I'm excited to see World Cup of Hockey coming back. It's been a long time. It's the first time since 2016 that the World Cup of Hockey will be coming back. And we had the Four Nations last year. We had the Winter Olympics in February with NHL players participating because the last Winter Olympics that they had, which it was in 2022, I don't know where it was at. I think it was in Finland, I believe. I think the 2022 Winter Olympics were in Finland. Oh, wait, no, they were in Beijing, China. But nonetheless, the NHL players did not participate in the Winter Olympics in 2022. And so 2026 was the first time since 2014 that the NHL players did participate in Winter Olympic Games. And now having a best-on-best international play like every 2 years, like they had the Four Nations last year, Winter Olympics this year, and then World Cup of Hockey in 2028, and then the Winter Olympics in France in 2030. It's growing the game of hockey right there because there was a lot of non-hockey fans that tuned into that USA-Canada gold medal game back in February. A lot of non-hockey fans tuned to that. Everybody was talking about that, and hopefully the non-hockey fans could possibly get into hockey just after watching that and the Four Nations. So what the NHL is trying to do here with the World Cup of Hockey, with the Winter Olympics, like every 2 years or so, like I said earlier when I was talking about this, they're trying to have a long-term rotation with Olympic participation to ensure regular international competition. So they're doing this every 2 years to grow the game of hockey and to have more people who normally don't watch it tune in along with the passionate, die-hard hockey fans and grow the game for across the world. So that's how I see it. Let me know you guys' thoughts. How you guys feel about the World Cup of Hockey coming back, and how you feel about the NHL doing this every 2 years, like Winter Olympics and then World Cup of Hockey. Like, I know a lot of you will probably say you like it better than the All-Star game. Next year, the NHL will have the All-Star game. It will be at UBS Arena, which is home to the New York Islanders in 2027. But at least we get World Cup of Hockey back, and at least the All-Star game won't be happening every year, because I know a lot of people, especially now, don't like the All-Star game. They want to see best on best international hockey, and they don't want to see the All-Star game. Personally, for me, I don't care. I enjoy both, but speaking for all hockey fans, I think best on best international hockey is the way to go. So very happy to see World Cup of Hockey coming back, and we're going to get a lot of best on best international play throughout these next few years. Can't wait for that. Moving on to the Penguins and Avalanche game. As the Pittsburgh Penguins, they cruised past the Colorado Avalanche with a 7-2 win on Monday. And with the win, Pittsburgh improves to 34, 18, and 15 on the season. They won 2 in a row, and they maintained that second place spot in the Metro Division. Getting Malkin, first game back after a 5-game suspension for slashing Sabres defenseman Rasmus Dahlin on March 5th. He had 2 goals and assists for a 3.9 in his return to the lineup. One of his goals was him coming out of the penalty box and scoring. So, very way to mark your first game back, I guess. But, yeah, Getty Malkin had a good night in that one. Erik Karlsson, he also had a 3.9. He had a goal and 2 assists in the win. Brian Russ, Elmer Soderblom, and Noah Chari each had a goal and assist for a 2.9. Anthony Mantha also scored in the win, while Artemi Panarin made 25 saves on 27 shots faced the net. And for the Colorado Avalanche, Nathan MacKinnon and Brent Burns scored for Colorado. Nathan MacKinnon gets his 45th goal of the season. I think he's on pace for a 60-goal season, probably. He's 5 goals away from scoring 50 this year. He could be on pace for getting 60 goals, 60, 65 goals this season. But we'll just have to see. He recorded his 4th straight 110-point season, becoming the 6th player in NHL history with a run of that length. And then Scott Wedgwood allowed 3 goals on 15 shots before being replaced by Mackenzie Blackwood at 13 minutes of the first period, in which Mackenzie Blackwood made 11 saves in relief. And the Avalanche, they have lost 2 straight games, lost 3 in the past 4 games, in which they are 1-3-0 during the span, and they dropped to 44-13-9 of the season. They are back in action at home on Wednesday against the Dallas Stars. It will be a Central Division showdown. In that one, at 8:30 p.m. Central Time, this will air on TNT and HBO Max. And the Penguins conclude their 5-game road trip in Carolina against the Hurricanes on Wednesday at 6 o'clock p.m. Central Time, which is kind of funny because the Penguins kicked off their 5-game road trip in Carolina on Tuesday, March the 10th, which was a 5-4 shootout loss for them, and now ending it in Carolina almost a week later. And then they return home to play a 3-game homestand, one of those teams being the Carolina Hurricanes. So these 2 Metro Division teams will get familiar with each other very quickly, and can't wait to see that. Other games on the Monday slate, the Red Wings take down the Calgary Flames 5-2. Patrick Kane, my favorite hockey player growing up, loved watching him as a kid, scored twice in the win, and I think NHL Network showed this. He passed Joe Mullen, I believe, on the USA's all-time points list. I think he's, for most goals, I believe, on the USA's all-time goals list, I believe. I didn't mean to say points because Patrick Kane is currently the USA American point leader on that point list, passing Mike Modano earlier this season. So I think he passed him in most goals scored among USA-born players. I think that's what I saw on NHL Network. And then the New Jersey Devils defeat the Boston Bruins 4-3 in overtime. Paul Cotter with the overtime game-winning goal in that one. NHL games on the slate for today. There's only 9 NHL games on the slate for today, starting with the New York Islanders taking on the Toronto Maple Leafs at 6 o'clock p.m. Central Time. Matthew Schaefer, homecoming in Toronto. Should be a fun one. Probably going to be a lot of his family and friends there in attendance. He did play, was it the Erie Otters he played for in his junior year before getting drafted by the New York Islanders? I believe it was the Erie Otters that he played for. Same team that Connor McDavid played for, though. So that was in his junior year. and they're in Pennsylvania. They're not even in Toronto, but yeah, should be a good one for Matthew Schaefer. He's already having a heck of a season, and he's going to have a lot of family, friends coming out for his homecoming in Toronto. Unfortunately, though, no Austin Matthews in the lineup for the Toronto Maple Leafs because, as you guys know from last week, he tore his MCL after that knee-on hit from Ducks captain and defenseman Radko Gudas. And the thing I don't like about is when Austin Matthews went down with that hit, no Maple Leafs players stepped in and stood up for Austin Matthews. Like, that's messed up. Like, I don't want to say anything too bad. I don't want to say anything too bad on the Hockey Talk TV podcast, but that is messed up. Your captain goes down. Your top player goes down. Knee-on hit. Scary hit. Huge situation right there. And nobody on the team does anything about it. Nobody stands up for Austin Matthews after that knee-on hit. If that was my captain getting hit, if that was the top player on my team that was getting hit, I would have dropped the gloves right away. And usually I don't fight a lot in hockey. I don't fight a lot in hockey. I do play hockey, by the way. Which I don't drop the gloves a lot. But if that was my player getting hit, my teammate getting hit, oh, you best believe I'm dropping gloves. And I hated that nobody on the Maple Leafs stood up for Austin Matthews after taking that hit from Radko Gudas. Like, that's the part that Maple Leafs fans were kind of pissed off at, and probably hockey fans in general. Like, somebody should have stood up for Austin Matthews after that hit, and nobody did. That's the part I did not like about that hit. But he is out for the rest of the season with a torn MCL. The Maple Leafs aren't doing that good anyway, and with the captain being out for the season, they're in rock bottom. So that's all I can say. But we'll see how good this matchup will be. Wish Austin Matthews was in this matchup taking on Matthew Schaefer, because both of them are number one overall picks. Austin Matthews getting drafted first overall by the Toronto Maple Leafs in the 2016 NHL draft, and then Matthew Schaefer getting drafted by the Islanders in the first overall in the 2025 NHL draft. Anyway, other games after that, Boston Bruins versus Montreal Canadiens, 6 o'clock p.m. Central Time. Should be a good showdown. It's always a good showdown when the Bruins play Canadiens. That's Hockey Night in Canada right there. Every Saturday night, I will tune in to Hockey Night in Canada, just seeing the Bruins and Canadiens go at it. One of the best rivalries in hockey. Probably my top favorite rivalry of all time in hockey. Bruins and Canadiens. A lot of history between those two, especially them being original 6 teams. And then we got a Metro Division showdown between the Carolina Hurricanes and Columbus Blue Jackets at 6 o'clock p.m. Central Time. And then we got a Central Division showdown between the Minnesota Wild and Chicago Blackhawks at 6:30 p.m. Central Time. This will air on TNT and HBO Max. Nick Foligno, former Chicago Blackhawks team captain, returns to the United Center for the first time as an opponent with the Minnesota Wild. He's played with the Blackhawks for like 2-3 seasons. Was a mentor to Connor Bedard and helped out all the young players on the team. And now he's playing for the Minnesota Wild with his brother, Marcus Foligno. Wish him nothing but the best as they go on the Stanley Cup playoffs and possibly win a Stanley Cup. But Nick Foligno is back in the UC for the first time as an opponent with the Minnesota Wild. Should be a good one. I think Connor Bedard kind of joked about in the interview, like this was about a week or so ago when the Blackhawks were taking on the Vancouver Canucks, because this was on trade deadline day, where he joked about, like, he better keep his head up out there. So he said that about facing Nick Foligno in this matchup against the Minnesota Wild. And y'all know Connor Bedard is not too afraid to shy now from anybody. So he's in goo mode almost. We kind of saw that in the Blackhawks last game against the Golden Knights, where he was in a scrum with one of the Golden Knights players. And we kind of saw that from him in some games throughout the season. So that's our future captain right there. Connor Bedard is going to get the next C for the Chicago Blackhawks. Hopefully we'll see him as captain of the Chicago Blackhawks. We're going to see him as captain in no time for the Blackhawks. So, yeah. He has that Mamba mentality to go out there and win every single game, play his best in every single game. So can't wait for that. Then we got another Central Division showdown between the Nashville Predators and the Winnipeg Jets at 7 o'clock p.m. Central Time. And then we got a Pacific Division showdown between the San Jose Sharks and the Edmonton Oilers at 8 o'clock p.m. Central Time. And then we got the two-time back-to-back Stanley Cup champion Florida Panthers taking on the Vancouver Canucks at 9 o'clock p.m. Central Time. And then we got the Buffalo Sabres, who are surprisingly doing very well, taking on the Golden Knights at 9 o'clock p.m. Central Time. And then we got the Tampa Bay Lightning taking on the Seattle Kraken at 9 o'clock p.m. Central Time. This will air on TNT and HBO Max. And that's going to do it for this episode of the Hockey Talk TG Podcast. Thank you guys for tuning in. As always, we do appreciate it. Don't forget to like, subscribe on YouTube, and make sure to follow on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and iHeartRadio. We are not that far out from the NHL season. I think only like 30-some games left until the NHL season is over with. Both of you guys have a great rest of your day. Keep God first as always. Be blessed, and I'll see you guys on Thursday for another episode of the Hockey Talk with TG Podcast. Take care.